Do things feel hard, intense? Are you feeling a kind of internal pressure building? Something is coming, something is shifting. It's not quite here yet, but you're also kind of revved, like you're wanting to move something through. Are you having emotional experiences in your relationships? Are you sensing that you are not going to be the same person you were at the beginning of the year by the time we get to the end of the year? If so, this is all the energies that are happening right now. It's not just you, it's the astrology. Hi, I'm Amy. This is Astrology Intuition with Amy Lynn. This is a bi-weekly podcast where I share with you, I meet with you on the new moons and the full moons to share the astrological energies for the next couple of weeks. So it's part energy forecast, it's part what the heck is happening and how to deal with it, how to cope with it. I use my background as a psychotherapist and a healer to bring in ways to support your nervous system and your actual lived human experience in these chaotic, intense times that we continue to cycle through. So, how I am structuring my podcast these days is I'm giving you some of the overarching energies first, a wider view. I will bring you into how to work with the things coming up, giving you some tools, and then I'll pull in specific key areas in your chart in a little bit of a more general overview for those of you who can look at your birth chart and understand where it's happening. And I'll save all of my natal Virgo moon detailed technical energies for the tail end where I will go day by day through all the transits happening that I think you need to know about. And before I start, I have to tell you what I'm even personally using for my own life and for this podcast is this planner that I published that is on Amazon. I'm going to put the link below. This is the Astrology Intuition Weekly Lunar Planner. This is a guide that I create, I channel. It's like having intuitive readings with me week by week, and I put it out quarterly. So the brand new quarter 2, April 1st through June 30th edition is live and ready for you to buy. It's $28. If you're here local to me in Colorado, I'll have some at my healing center as well. It actually has a prettier cover than what I'm showing you here. This is my draft copy. I did color this time. I'm really excited. It looks really pretty. Anyway, what I'm going to do to start actually is just read you just my one-liner title of the first 3 weeks of April, because what we're covering today is the full moon in Libra, which is April 1st, 2026. And we're going to cover the couple of weeks heading into the new moon in Aries, which is on the 17th. So let me just tell you, these are what I do when I'm channeling the energies and like picking up all the layers and kind of combining what's happening in the cosmos is that I'm trying to kind of like synthesize it into a bite-sized nugget of a vibe that you can understand and work with, so you don't always have to go deep down into the details. But of course, I make space for you to do that too, because that's what I love to do with my North Node and Scorpio. Um, so here's what I have for you for the week of April 1st, which we're in now. Obviously, April 1st is a Wednesday, but this whole week is the title that I have is Endings and Beginnings with Some Charge. Now, I'm going to talk you through why. But the second week of April, the week of April 5th, is called Everything All at Once. And then just to let you know where we're headed after that, the third week of April, which is the week of April 12th, which lands us at the end of the week on Friday with the new moon in Aries, which is the next time I'll be back to talk to you. That week is trust momentum and meet each moment with clear, steady self energy. So you can see that we have this like kind of dramatic intensification in the beginning, around the full moon. And then we have some integration and some trust as things start to really turn by mid-month. So that is the really wide overview of what we're looking at. Let's just start with the full moon. And the reason I come to you, I kind of bring the astrology down to earth at the lunations, at the full moons and the new moons, because that's a time when the moon is really communicating with us very directly, letting us know it's time to really figure out how these astrological energies in the cosmos are working personally with us, how we're feeling them, how we're emoting through them, how they're affecting our lives. So, we always start with the full moon itself. All full moons are a completion or a release point. All full moons also connect to three different lengths of a lunar cycle. There's the short cycle, which is just the monthly new moon into the next new moon kind of a cycle, like a month or a month. There's a 6 month cycle where the full moon has its pair. Prior 6 months back, there was a new moon in the same zodiac energy, and we're now coming to a 6 month completion point with that on a 6 month timeline. And then there's these longer lunar gestational cycles, which I'm starting to call lunar manifestation cycles because that's exactly the magic of them. And those are 27 months, over 2 years of periods of time where the full moon is 18 months into that 27-month cycle. So I'm going to talk you through some of those details as well. But full moons are about release, completion, everything being revealed. Think of how the face of the moon looks on a full moon. It's like everything is right there. It's bright. We see it. There's nothing to hide. Has that kind of energy. As you know from being a human through your life, living through full moons, there's oftentimes bigger news, bigger information, bigger emotional waves. Something happens. You could feel it. It might even affect your body and your sleep and your cycles. So there's something very strong and big in everything and the quality of the full moons. Then we combine that with the zodiac energy where the full moon is happening. So every year we have a full moon in each of the 12 zodiac signs. We have 12 full moons. Sometimes there's a 13th throughout the year. So pretty much we can count on having one full moon in one zodiac sign per year. And it's always the same time of year because the full moon relates to where the sun is moving, what the sun season is. So, what season are we in right now? We're in Aries season. So, whenever there's a full moon, that's an opposition between the sun and the moon. So, while the sun is in Aries, the moon is opposite the zodiac to create that full moon opposition, which means that the full moon is in Libra. So we look at the zodiac energies and the teachings of Libra to bring us to what we're meant to be kind of working with and understanding from all the other layers in the cosmos communicating through this moon to us. And Libra wants us to understand each other almost more than ourselves. Libra wants us to find a sense of resonance, compassion. There's a sense of balancing the internal and the external. There's the kind of shadow energies of Libra are self-abandonment or codependency, like doing more so what you think needs to be done based on external energies versus on what you need. Aries is more what you need. So balancing that axis. It's very interesting. Libra's very, I consider it to be probably the most relational sign that we have, very much based in relationship. People who have a strong Libra energies are very much defined by their relationships, and that's an important energy for them is to be in a reciprocal experience with other people. So there might be something coming in right now for you in the themes of Libra. That's just part of it though, because the other thing is that all the planets and all the asteroids and all, everything in our solar system is in a dance constantly. And we have really intense overall astrology really this entire decade, but this year, in particular, the spring, we've had a lot happening. And so all of that planetary resonance is still happening. It's still one of the many radio stations. It's kind of in the mix of our choice of what we're tuned into energetically and how these astrology transits hit your chart, whether it's affecting you more personally or strongly by hitting a personal planet or something like that. That's going to make the difference of how this transit versus that transit affects you versus people in your life or people who you know. So ideally, you're going to be looking at your chart and starting to really understand placing the transits and the zodiac signs where I'm telling you they're happening and overlaying it with your chart to see what do you have in your chart in that area. So I am going to talk to you like that in this podcast. I do have some courses and things. So I'll put my links down below if you want to learn from me more about how to do that. So I'm literally going to just go through the actual planner. So I didn't mention this. The planner has week by week pages like this, but it also has call out pages for the full moon. which is really awesome because it helps you kind of journal and work with and even track over time. Especially if you started to collect these quarterly planners over time, you'll be able to go between like the longer lunar manifestation cycles and see, oh my gosh, 2 years ago when I planted that intention, now here we are at the last quarter moon and look what's happened. So it's a pretty neat way to work with the magic of manifesting with the moon. But anyway, so April 1st, it's in the evening, 8:11 p.m. Mountain Time is exactly when we have this Libra full moon. It's happening mid degrees, 12 degrees, 21 minutes. So what are the big energies? I'm actually going to pull up the chart of the full moon so those who are watching can see it. I'll describe this for those of you who are listening on audio. This chart is so lopsided and heavy on the Aries end of the chart. The moon in Libra opposite that is just holding or pulling. It looks like someone carrying a really heavy load, which is that what you're feeling like? Do you feel like you're carrying a heavy load? Do you feel like your shoulders just couldn't quite get much bigger? Um, that's what this moon's feeling like. So we always want to be, we're always kind of orienting to time with astrology. We can never just start today and not talk about what happened yesterday because we're still feeling the aftermath of the other energies, the bigger energies. And we just had a Sun Saturn conjunction. We just had, um, I'm just looking at the chart. Yeah, Saturn sextile Pluto this past weekend. And we've had some big stuff going on, and these relate also to bigger um, energies like the minor grand trine opening up this summer that we'll be talking about it more. I'm not going to go into that today, but it's great. It's supportive, hopefully. But we have a lot of wild card energy coming with this full moon for a couple of reasons, and it's pronounced for a couple of reasons. So, when we look at the full moon, what we basically end up having is the sun and the moon across from each other in the Libra to Aries axis, and then squaring that in a cross opposition, we have Jupiter in Cancer, and then we have Pholus in Capricorn. And Jupiter and Pholus are in an opposition with each other. And so all the cardinal signs Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn are being activated by square and being very strongly presented through this full moon in Libra. So, what does that mean? Jupiter is going to it's going to call on us. It's a place to feel supported, but it's really kind of tuned mostly into this Pholus energy, which I want to talk to you about. You might not be aware of Pholus. I feel like the moon doesn't have a lot of strength here because there's so much else happening over with the sun on the Aries side of the chart. The moon is going to come in more like a whisper, more like a please, can we have some Libra qualities here? Can we find some resonance, some um what's that word I'm trying to think of? Well, I can't think of it, but compassion. Can we have understanding of each other? Oh, like a negotiation. Like, can we come to the table and negotiate? But the moon is so quiet. Think it's going to be really hard for that negotiation energy to happen with all this other stuff that's going on. The sun in Aries is always a really strong, anytime the sun is in a fire sign, it's just a strong sun season energy. Also, with the Aries equinox having just happened and that burst of spring in the northern hemisphere, there's just so much sunlight and aliveness and push forward. And that energy is just way stronger in the cosmos than this moon in Libra, which just feels so quiet to me. Jupiter and Cancer still hanging out all like for a full month of time. Jupiter's been hanging at the mid degrees of Cancer because of a stationing direct energy and will only be in Cancer for just a few more months. But this is kind of like the soak it up time, I feel like, in of the Jupiter has it's a positive placement in the middle of Cancer. It brings energies to a maternal and nurturing quality. On the ugly side, that can be kind of homeland energies or like an overprotective mama bear kind of energy. But really, if we can work within ourselves to come to a place of like what's our best Cancerian energy, our intuitive nature, or how do we care for each other? That question just keeps coming to me. I think I've said that in every podcast recently, like care for yourself, care for your people, take care of your communities. That's this Jupiter and Cancer energy. But Pholus, let's talk about that. So Pholus is a centaur, like Chiron. Pholus is it's a centaur asteroid, I should say. It's between Saturn and Neptune. So I'm actually going to kind of go into this for a little while before I get into the nervous system talk here, because I want you to understand the exact vibe of Pholus. Um, the fact that Pholus orbits between Saturn and Neptune. And we just had the Saturn Neptune conjunction February 20th, which, by the way, we are still feeling and orienting to. That's very much a reinvention energy, a reinvention of self. That conjunction is not a moment in time, it's a tone. It's like it sets the tone of the times for a great while. It has that energy to it. But it also, being in Aries, very much affects us on the individual level as we're all having our own reorienting or reshuffling around of something in our sense of self in the early degrees of Aries in our birth chart, wherever you have that. But it's forming. It's going to take time. But Pholus is between orbitally between Saturn and Neptune. So I feel like there's almost this like bridge or mediation going on. Like Pholus can understand them both. It's kind of like a middle child. Like the middle child can always understand the older and the younger sibling. Even if they don't agree, they can sort of like read their minds and understand the dynamics really easily. So I feel like Pholus has a strength in helping us understand the Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. But what does Pholus do? Pholus is pops the wine cork off, literally starts a war in mythology. This is a mythology. I mean, it has this like energy of like, oh shit, like, oops, did I just do that? And big outcomes happen. So, I don't know if there's anything going on in the collective with an, oh shit, did we just start a war? But yeah, Pholus understands that energy for sure. On the personal level, Pholus has to do with sudden, irreversible change. It's like opening Pandora's box. It's like seeing something, now can't not see that thing. It has to do with chain reactions. It has to do with I just made this little choice or did this little thing and boop, 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 the dominoes fall. It's not bad. It's not necessarily bad. It can very much be a catalyst for unexpected transformation. So, not the kind of healing and manifesting that you're doing consciously, but the kind of transformation that has like a cosmic destiny to it. Like it's transformation that has to happen. It's time. It's happening now. It's happening now. So, Fool's being involved with this moon, I just feel like really brings the wild card Pandora's box kind of energy. This is where I do want to talk to you about your nervous system because well, oftentimes in astrology, we talk about Uranus being the kind of wild card, the pivots in life. Pholus can have a similar vibe to Uranus in that way, but I find it to be even more like, oops, like I don't, it's so hard to talk about it without making it sound negative. I really don't think it's negative, like purely negative. It's more like unexpected in the way of you just created that unexpected thing, where Uranus has more of like the external thing comes in and goes, hey, whoa, this is happening now, and like, I got to pivot, and you're like orienting to the pivot. Where with Pholus, you're orienting to the internal catalyst that just cracked open. I hope that makes sense. So, because of that, yes, there's a nervous system energy around regulating yourself and dealing and coping with change, but it's an internally driven experience more so than Uranus. So, how is this different? You guys know I don't like plan and outline for these podcasts, so I'm trying to really get the vibe of this, and it's taking me a second to grab the words. Um, with Folus material, it's like you're getting your own downloads of your own information rather than it being from the outside. So one thing you could do is really work with um, free form journaling where you're just kind of channeling and letting things go, sitting in meditation and listening for the pings, asking your light team, your guides and angels to reflect back to you your own knowing that you can't yet see. Has that kind of energy to it. Like you have it all. It's all the information you need is in your field. It's just have you clicked into the frequency station where you can like get it all? Um, I just keep seeing this like go ahead and open the box. Like go ahead and look. Like that's what I want to tell you. Just like you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So go ahead and peek. Go ahead and look. The thing that you maybe have kind of seen off on the horizon and known about, it just takes the flip of one switch and it's here. Okay, it also has some a vibe like that. I do think that tracking through um some kind of journaling, audio memoing, even just like having a group of friends or some kind of peer group where you talk about personal growth type stuff, I think will help you formulate how to orient to the fullest sudden irreversibility. Okay. And from there, I think breaking things down into digestible pieces, because I think you're going to get stuff that feels big and overwhelming and kind of like a rush, like, woof, I don't even know how to build that, how to make that, how to do that on this timeline, how to shift this fast, how to get my feet under me while I'm sprinting. Like it has that quality because there's also this like fire Aries, like all the personal planets pretty much either just were are or about to be in Aries. So there's just so much fire, fire, fire energy that I think being able to chunk this out into moments, days of time, pieces of the I don't even know what this is for you. The shift, the change, the plan, the thing you're building. I keep wanting to say the thing you're building because of the Capricorn placement of Pholus, mid degrees of Capricorn. Micro goals, uh intention like that I totally oh my God, I do not have time in my life to do bullet journals, but I think they're really cool. And if you have time, definitely use that tool. But kind of like a quick hit of a bullet journal-esque type thing where you're sort of like putting all your ideas down on paper, like one big idea page, and then you're just pulling out the things that are actual priorities and then putting them into a time block or a deadline or something like that. Like that's fullest in Capricorn to me is like take the sudden irreversibility situation, but now try to grab it with a Capricorn sense of seeing it and placing it in time and in like a goal orientation. And that will help your nervous system. Like that's going to help your nervous system regulate because there's going to be so much forward motion with this and you have to do and keep going. That will more so than like breathing or stopping. I mean, still do your yoga and still breathe and go on nature walks, like do all that for sure. But it's just not going to regulate you the same way as this like unstoppable forward momentum energy being like chunked out into a Capricorn goal setting form or something like that. I am talking to myself here too. I'm not great at doing that. So that is a note for self. Um, by the way, this is the first full moon since eclipse season. So I do feel like we also still have this like intensive intensity kind of playing out the things that we haven't fully seen or cleaned up or um, absorbed or integrated from eclipse season that's still here. That's still pretty fresh. Another note is that the Aries equinox has this big, strong energy of manifesting with the astrological year. This is the astrological new year. So it's very much like goals and intentions and like what are you going to do for your new year energy here. And this is it's really like ripe and you can work with it until the Aries new moon on the 17th. So this is a couple of weeks. Here at my healing center, we do this thing called vision mapping where we use the astrological wheel and I'm an art therapist in my original training. And so we do collage and art making and like really bring in the ways that we want to manifest things in our lives for healing, for good, for whatever we're all working on, and put that into the timeline of the year. So that's a side note. You could look that up. There's tons of videos on YouTube about how to do that type of a thing. Vision map. Um, let's see. What else do I want to tell you? Um, There's so many transits. I'm like trying to think about if I just want to jump into the details of that. Let me look at my notes and see what else I was going to tell you for your personal growth and regulation. Oh, just the relationship energies too, because Libra always brings in relationship. This is a time where I just feel like there's going to be like a lot of intensity in relationships, in your sense of self as you relate to relationships, like uh, questioning things, questioning relationships, questioning yourself and your role in your partnerships, that type of stuff. It just feels like that could be some of that fullest energy too. Like, oh my God, what have I just done? Or like, I don't know. I just broke up with this person. Why did I do that? I just moved in with this person. Oh my God. Like that kind of energy, like in relationship type settings. Um, I do think there's this like interesting mix. There's a very long void of course moon, which is when the moon is kind of like between signs and when it's long void of course energy, it is like um time stands still, like kind of nothing can happen. So I almost feel like I keep getting this image of like a really old school photography setup where it was like a whole to do to get all arranged for the photograph. And then there's this moment where you have to stay very perfectly still, even though you're alive and breathing, because the exposure, like the flash, like it wouldn't, maybe there wasn't a flash, so the exposure had to be long. Um, but there, it would like take time for the photograph to be taken versus the instantaneousness we have now. This has that quality. It's like we're all set up for the photo, we're all done up and ready to go, and we're like ready for this thing. And then we still have to like hold ourselves still, like totally still, like freeze tag still, just for a second, because it's void of course moon. But there's a ton of energy once we get to April 9th. That's when Mars is going to move into Aries, and that's like fireworks. It's like intense. It's an explosion. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot. There's a lot of other stuff happening 9th, 10th, 11th. In a good way, personally, that can be like the movement really returns, like the thing we've kind of been waiting for since even the beginning of the year. Like even since January. Like January didn't feel like the new year. February did kind of. Then it was eclipse season. We've just had this sort of like funky, what even is this energy we're working with kind of experience. And I think by mid-April, we're like, okay, got it. That's where we're at. Um, there could be a full reset of identity and direction, by the way, coming through here. I think we're going to hit that a little bit closer to the next lunation, the new moon in Aries, but it's coming. We can feel that. It's not random. It's built on everything that we've been personally manifesting, personally working to dissolve and release and heal from and clearing shadow, all that kind of stuff. Um, Let me just give you, I did write some notes, some good notes here around key chart points so that you can understand how to work with the energies I'm talking about. Like, where are they exactly happening? Look at your chart, look at these degree points and zodiac signs, and this is where these different energies are happening. I'm going to give you one, two, three, four, five, six, seven of these. Okay, so pause this, grab your notebook, grab your planner. I'm telling you, get it out and write these notes down. I like to print my own birth chart out for each new moon and each full moon so that I can write notes about specifically what's happening around this lunation on my chart. So that's another way you could work with this. So we still have the Aries 0 degree point, the very beginning of the zodiac wheel, 0 to 3 degrees. You could go a little bit, maybe to 4 or 5 if you're feeling it. This is where that new identity field is happening because of the Saturn Neptune conjunction. This is initiation. This is forward motion. This is beginning of a new personal timeline, while at the same time, it's like a new Earth consciousness timeline that's much bigger and longer than our own little tiny human lifetimes. So it's happening simultaneously. And that's why it feels so big and like the never-ending turning of a corner that just you can't ever get to the other side, but we're starting to. But you can start to really work with that turning of the corner energy in yourself, I feel like, especially at that place in your chart. Any of these places I talk about, when I say Aries, we're always going all the cardinal signs. Okay. So that's Cancer, Aries, that's Capricorn, it's Libra. Those early degrees of all the cardinal signs is where that's all happening, but especially Aries. That's the hot point. Then we have mid degrees of Cancer because of that Jupiter hanging out there. Again, this is cardinal signs. So the same four signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, mid degrees. This is Jupiter's amplification zone. Okay. This is where there's emotional truth. There's a maternal surge. There's an expansion of what feels meaningful enough to nurture, to culture, to grow, to cultivate. Like, what are you bringing into form? Cancer is a sign where we bring something from spirit to form. The birth process has to do with Cancer energies. Then we have Libra, 10 degrees to 13 degrees. So again, we're talking about cardinal signs. Do I have to say it again? Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Now we're talking about 10 to 13 degrees. This is where that full moon impact happens. This is the illumination point around this awareness of relationship stuff, restoring alignment, feeling compassion, negotiating. Where and how do you need to negotiate? Again, the next one's Capricorn, 18 to 22 degrees. We haven't gone into all the transit details, but this is a release point. It's connected to long-term structures. This is going to be about letting go of roles. This is going to be about responsibilities or identities that no longer fit. Interestingly, so what does that give us? I'm going to go back to all those cardinal signs. We're talking about the only cardinal part of the cardinal energies that get a break are going to be like, let's say 5 to 9 degrees and the very tail end, like 23 to 29 degrees, get a break. All the rest of the cardinal signs are getting all these different energies. So hang in there. If you have personal planets, sun, moon, rising, any of your personal planets at all, any of your angles, your rising, your midheaven, your descendant, your Imam Kweli, in a cardinal sign, this is just really huge life-shifting stuff right now for you. And it's meant to be. So if you're feeling like it's big, it is, it's meant to be. Track yourself, stay present to yourself. You got this. Use the astrology to ground you. I know that sounds crazy because we're talking about space, but somehow the energies communicating their various themes and agendas and stories helps you understand that not everything in you is just you, that you're living an archetypal life. You're living the movement of the planets within your cells all the time. And you can depersonify from that. You can pull back and not make egoic story or feel the get stuck in pain or nervous system activation based on these energies, knowing that you're just resonating with a much bigger symphony of cosmic energies. Who else is having a turn here? Late Pisces, 22 to 29 degrees of Pisces and all the mutable signs. So we're talking about Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, late degrees. This is a closing portal. This is an integration of the past 14 years of emotional and spiritual evolution. This is what has ended now that Neptune has moved out of Pisces, and there's like this void or this vacuum. We had Saturn, we had Neptune in Pisces, and then for a long time, and then more recently, all the personal planets and the sun were just traveling through Pisces. Mercury's still there, finishing up the retrograde shadow, moving out of that soon. Mercury is direct now, but still repeating the third coat of paint, as we say, across that retrograde zone where he went forward, then back, then forward again. So there's still this like last little remnant of like, what are we meant to get in this vacuum of energy where everything is just left Pisces, but here we are swimming awash in the ocean trying to make sense of it all. So this is your spiritual evolution energy. This is all the endings, all the releases, and that's like ancestral. I feel like it's like what are lineage level things that you're releasing or that your lineage has had to release that are coming through you now that you're feeling? It's like you're in every timeline at once through this closing portal of the Pisces time. Then we have Taurus, 29 degrees. Really, we could say the last maybe 3 degrees or so of Taurus and all the fixed signs. So we're talking about Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. This is where Uranus is going to be ending his time soon. Not till April 25th, but we're already like, that's the day Uranus moves into Gemini. So we're now in the days where Uranus is completing his time. A long chapter of time in Taurus, changing things in our physical realities. That's like, I think the late fixed degrees is going to be where we feel the shakeup, like I just like to do the sound effect, the fullest wine cork popping off the bottle. Where are we going to feel it? I think we're going to feel it in our late fixed signs. Even though it's happening in mid cardinal, I think the place where like the reality is shaken up is going to be more in those late fixed signs. Then we have Aquarius, 5 degrees. This is where Pluto is. Pluto has not been this far into the zodiac wheel until now in 250 years. So this 5 degree point where Pluto is going to have a lot of different communication with outer planets, big, huge transits coming. This is where Pluto is restructuring or deconstructing energies, deep, deep shifts in systems and things related to the collective, to humanity, humanitarianism. And what's the future direction? This is where we get to build the new earth energy if we're careful and stay connected to this. And so, again, Aquarius is fixed. So, we're talking about that hitting Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius in the early degrees. Okay. I did make some notes, I realized, about self-awareness. So, here's a little bit more of how you can work with that. Um, let awareness come to you or the intuition come to you before you're in your head deciding actions. I promise you, the more you're spending headspace, making choices and planning and thinking, it's going to get torn apart. Like, do not waste your time with that. Wait until you get the ping and the now and the go and like that kind of this is the energy, then do it. I mean, it's one thing to have like best laid plans or, some plan B to fall back on or something like that. That's fine. If you really need that like worst case scenario thinking, I understand. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a waste of your energy. Um, you're also still deeply integrating an identity shift. So you might not be aware of it yet. This is the kind of thing where you're different and you don't even know you're different yet. So be trying to pay attention to that in the quiet spaces when there's the void of course moon or when you have a little time to yourself at the end of your yoga class to lie on your mat and meditate and just be feeling what is the shifting that is here. Clarity will come, but it's not, I don't think, going to be mental. It's going to be felt sense. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be in the psychic realms, dreams, dream spaces. Stay connected to your body. Aries is always a season where we need to stay connected to our bodies, especially. Um, but this is in part because energy is increasing. And I want you to really be connected to your central channel. Your central channel is your spine of your energy field. It's the center and it has a centrifugal quality, bringing you back to center literally. And then having that vertical connection through your central channel down to your Earth star at the core of the Earth and out into the cosmos. You can find your star system, your family, your star family, your star mother. It's great energy to work with that and let that energy run vertically through you all the way to the Earth star. Um, there's a lot of root chakra stuff going on, always with Mars and always with Aries, and Mars is moving into Aries. So that only happens every couple of years. So we get Mars in his home territory. And so I really like to work with Mars and Aries as a time to be very tuned into your root chakra, even if all you're doing is physically feeling it or imagining or seeing it spinning in an open and clear, balanced way. Root chakra has to do with survival fears and primal primitive stuff. So it can be like being really activated in your attachment system, or even like having a startle response that just feels like a little more like your window of tolerance might be a little tighter. So anything you can do, any tools you have to work with that, please do. Some people, I mean, even working with colors, like wearing red, like, do you notice I'm wearing this like fuchsia dress right now? Um, Sometimes that helps you orient to the energy and like resonate with the energy to just put yourself with the color. So that would be an interesting way to work with it. With fire, can you see my candle back here? I always have fire season. I always have fire. Like I'm trying to match the energy. I'm trying to be with the energy rather than fight against it, basically. All right. This is getting long, so I want to move into the transits. I do. We're going to get there next time in the new moon and Aries podcast episode. But by the end of April, the field is shifting. Reality is shifting. So this is still like a transition time for that. But I just want you to know that. And there's going to be such heightened energy awareness. Trust yourself as you're getting more and more psychically tuned. I want you to trust it before anything. Like that's your practice right now. All right, here's your transits. I'm only going to call out the biggest ones. And you know what? I forgot to tell you the longer lunar gestational cycle stuff too. So let me start with the dates that relate to the full moon. So again, the full moon is on April 1st, 8:11 p.m. Happening in Libra at 12 degrees 21 minutes. It is connected in a short cycle back to this most recent New Moon in Pisces that we just had on March 18th. Can you even remember that? That was 2 weeks ago. I can't even remember that. Um, then we have the 6 month pairing. So we would have had a new moon in Libra on October 21st, 2025. That was at 28 degrees. By the way, I think this is coming up too. I didn't say this. Three Eye Atlas, at the time of that new moon in Libra, that's when Three Eye Atlas was conjunct the sun, uh, which I really still do believe had something to do with bringing in a cellular upgrade, a consciousness upgrade, bringing in the potential beyond potential, something that we didn't have any schema for, suddenly appeared in our solar system. That's freaking awesome. It means anything is possible in this hellscape we're currently living in. Literally anything is possible. So keep working with the energies, keep thinking big, acting big, making like expanding your mind. Get in the space where you can expand and open yourself. When you find yourself in limiting beliefs or in old stories, you gotta fight against that. That is old human fear programming. And this is a chance, this is a time for us to heal that permanently. Okay, no pressure. The longer lunar manifestation cycle for this full moon is was seeded originally 18 months back on October 2nd of 2024. That was at 10 degrees of Libra. So what were you doing then? What were you just starting in that kind of month of time, like last half of September to mid-October of 2024? Do you remember? There was a check-in for that with the first quarter moon, which would have been my birthday, July 2nd, 2025. That would have been a pivot or a checkpoint. What was happening for you then? And then the last quarter moon, well, then we have this full moon, which is the some kind of a culmination or release or a revelation, like, oh yes, this is now complete, or I can do this thing all the way. And then in 9 months, we get to kind of close it out or have an integration or a reflection looking back. And that's the last quarter moon happening December 30th. I kind of like that timing for like a New Year's looking back on the year kind of vibe. So if you're like not sure, what does that mean? What was happening for me with that 27-month cycle? You're going to look at 10 to 12 degrees of Libra in your birth chart and try to understand it there. Is it close to something? What house is it in? The house will always give you the area. You know, I actually in my planner, you should get one of these planners just to have the reference at the back. At the back of the planner, there's a reference section on planet energies, zodiac energies, transit energies, and houses. And it's just like a quick flip reference where when you're not sure, it gives you just a couple simple, first house is self, like that kind of thing. And I think just having that in one of these books, even if you don't keep buying them, is very, very helpful and useful. All right. So I'm only going to pay attention to some of the bigger transits for you because there's just a lot happening. So I'm going to go through these pretty quick. I'm going to say the date. You want to get your planner out, and I'm going to talk about what it is that's happening. So Friday, the 3rd of April, Venus, having just moved into Taurus, squares Pluto. Venus has not squared Pluto this deep into this fixed energy yet, with Pluto that far into Aquarius. It's happening at 5 degrees 15 minutes at 4:38 p.m. Mountain. It's a tough energy. I feel like I even wrote this down somewhere. There's like a saving grace energy with Venus and Taurus. She's home there. She loves it there. She has a lot of strength there. She also wants us to be like, I think of Ferdinand the Bull when she's there. Like she wants us to stop and smell the roses. But Pluto's going to be asking her some hard questions. But I think she's like been through a cycle. Like she had a conjunction with Pluto. They've already kind of talked about it, and she's going to show up in her strength. She's going to tell the truth. Like there's a Pluto brings the truth, and something about this Venus square Pluto, it's like the truth really gets to come out. Some kind of energy like that. Um, yeah. Moving on past my moon pages. Sunday the 5th, the sun squares Jupiter. This is happening from Aries to Cancer. It's at 16 degrees, 8 minutes at 4:23 p.m. It could be lovely. It's not like a tough square when it's the sun and Jupiter, but it could be a lot of a lotness. It could sort of have the bring whatever the fullest wine cork energy was into like, oh, okay, it's this and it's big and it feels like a lot. I think that's probably what that timeline's going to be. On the 8th, Mars will sextile Uranus. And the reason, sextiles aren't always the biggest deal, but it's happening from Pisces, Mars will still be in Pisces then, to Taurus at the final degree for the last time in 84 years. So this is happening at 29 degrees, 6 minutes. It's happening on the 8th at 10:11 a.m. And this is like, what is it like when Mars leaves? I just think there's still going to be the last big changes in the Earth frequencies happening around this time, that week, basically 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, around then through the tail end of April is like the last, like just when you thought nothing else could change permanently, something else is going to change permanently. I don't know. I don't mean to say it like it's bad and scary, but like it might be. It might be something, like I just see like the sand dissolving beneath your feet. Like there's nothing left to stand on. It could be that kind of energy. But Mars is so strong and Uranus is so like excitable that it's like we know what to do next. We just have to like be with the leaving of the thing that no longer is going to exist. We have to grieve it. We have to feel our feelings about it, orient to it, honor it, and then let it go. And then keep moving because guess what? On the 9th, we have a last quarter moon in Capricorn. So there's a last quarter moon that goes back 27 months to a new moon that happened in Capricorn on January 11th of 2024. 111, all those new beginnings, almost 2.5 years ago. So there's something that it'll make sense. I don't know what it is in your chart, but wherever you have, what did I say? 20 degrees of Capricorn, 20 degrees of all the cardinal signs, Cancer, Aries, Libra, Capricorn. That's where you're going to look to be like, this is where you have to do the final letting go of something that's been creeping in for like 2.5 years, or maybe even working with it very specifically. It's very earth energy. It's Capricorn. It's like you've moved mountains in this part of your chart, perhaps. And now we have like the last earthquake to I mean, what kind of a metaphor is that? Like we're not actually moving mountains, but like the force that you've had to use to rebuild the thing you've rebuilt. And now there's just like that last quake that kind of lets everything shake into place or release. Like the things you didn't know you needed to release. Now you have to, and it's actually I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be good even. I'm not telling you all the transits, by the way. I'm just telling you the biggest ones because there's just so much going on. Um, all right. I'm going to take you now through the new moon and then I'm going to say goodbye. On the 12th, on Sunday, we have Mars conjunct Neptune. This is the first time in 165 years that this has happened in Aries. It's happening at 2 degrees and 39 minutes. It's happening at 11:30 p.m. on Sunday the 12th. Um, I don't know what to think about this one. I feel like actually Mars is going to bring some like positive masculine energy, like some structure and some almost like protection energy to Neptune, who's been a little lost hanging out in Aries. In the mundane level and the worldly level of astrology, one way that people see Neptune in Aries is like a religious crusade or like a war based on a belief system, right? And so I think there's something with Mars conjunct Neptune here that brings in, it's almost like a reality check for that. I'm not really sure. And I don't like to get into the worldly, what's happening in politics level of stuff, but there's definitely something uh, that we're going to have to face that day, is how it feels. Personally, though, it can be like updating your inner masculine with the most spiritual, dreamy qualities of Neptune. You can kind of like work it the opposite way. Like, how can you be, what would the masculine be if he were spiritual and creative and loving and wanted things to be ideal? So, kind of a question for a reflection here. Okay, on Tuesday the 14th, Mercury sextiles Uranus, which I put also because it's that last degree, the last degree of decomposition and decay and the very end of Uranus and Taurus, 29 degrees, 24 minutes. It's happening at 11:10 a.m. The last time in 84 years we're going to have that in that place of the zodiac. So many of us will never live through that again. And it is a little bit of a kiss goodbye. Sextiles are like that to me. They're just like, goodbye, like, hello, goodbye. They're just a little check in, a little moment. There's just a supportive nature between them. But to me, this is like, okay, I understand. Like, Mercury brings a perception of understanding or like a download, a channeled knowing of something related to what all the shakeup at the end of Taurus is that we're dealing with by this point in the month. Okay, Thursday the 16th, the sun will conjunct Chiron, which also means Eris. They're all in the same place. This is happening at 26 degrees 38 minutes at 9:10 a.m. This is also the tail end of Chiron and Aries. We have so many outer planets moving this year. So every time they move to a new sign, we're also dealing with the end of their time in the former sign where they've been for so long. So this is just like this area has been like bruised and battered, and it just feels like tender in our charts over there at the end of Aries. You've been dealing with a lot there. It's like, where is the wound still asking for your attention? Where is there still pain? And can you bring warmth to it? Can you treat it? Can you give it some medicine? We also have Mercury conjunct Neptune in Aries that day, 2 degrees, 48 minutes at 8:01 p.m. I think this is going to connect us back to whatever was going on the 12th with Mars conjunct Neptune. Now we have Mercury conjunct Neptune. So there's like, at first, there's facing the truth and having this like brave energy. And then there's more of like a integrating it on a cognitive level or being able to orient to each other in our local communities around it, something like that with Mercury there. That same day, also on the 16th, Mars in Aries will sextile Pluto in Aquarius, which I think is great. Like, I feel like when I see all these boop, 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 everything that I've told you in the week of the 12th, it's like, it's not going to be easy. There's intensity there at the beginning of the week. But by the time we get to Thursday, I think we're going to have some really exciting ideas of how the future can be, even if it's a long road, even if we're not sure how we're going to make it happen. There's like the verb of hope, the action verb of hope is alive again, and it's up to us to practice it and make it real. That pretty much will take us then to the new moon in Aries on the 17th. So I feel like the new moon in Aries is going to be a chance for us to really embody the new way. Like, it's kind of like be the change you want to see. That's cliche, but it really is that. Like, can you live as though it's the new earth frequencies? Even though there are horrible things happening and people are not safe, I understand that. Even so, how can you put your system in the best state, the best calmly regulated state you can be in, where you're open-hearted and you're committed to the greater good, a cause greater than yourself, and you're living your life in the resonance and the frequency of what it would be to be in a loving society where we take care of each other, where there is enough for everyone, where we move forward, taking into account the needs of the people in the fringes. How can you start to embody that like more than you ever have? That's what's here for us right now. I am really excited for the new moon in Aries. I will be back to talk to you about that then. This has been a very long podcast. I appreciate you hanging with me. There's just a lot happening in the world. Last reminder, get your planner. Even if you don't buy it right away, I promise you, even if you get it in May, even if you get it in June, if you're listening to the podcast retroactively, still get the planner. It's going to help you so much to ground yourself in these wild and crazy times. All right, take care out there. Love your neighbors, love yourself, take care of your people, be the best that you can be, and I will see you next time.